Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. I'd like to start by thanking my lovely subscribers for all your respect, your mindfulness, your professionalism. I love that you'll keep it classic and respectful in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, guys, because it helps the algorithm. And we really need awareness on this case. The correct justice has to be served. I've been following this case from the 13th of November 2022, when the Vandals alert was made and when it first came on the news. We have more speculations than facts in this case, to be honest. There's not much facts to go on. It doesn't mean if there's no facts we're going to speculate, but in psychology that's a human behavior to get suspicious or to try and see why things don't fit. There's something like lacking in the puzzle. What is the first thing that happens in any murder cases or missing cases? You automatically report it to the police, no matter which country, which borough, which county, which district, which capital, which city you live in. There's a reason 911 calls are made. Even a 5-year-old child is told by the parents usually how to react in an emergency incident. And if you haven't told your children or grandchildren, I would advise you to do that as a therapist. Children are smarter than we actually give them credit for at times. We have to keep them safe, but they have to learn in certain situations how to respond in an emergency. But I wish we were just talking about children. Like I said, children are smart. We're actually talking about two grown-ups, age 19, 20, who for whatever reason decided not to call 911 until 9 hours later or 8 hours later. It sounds very wrong because it is wrong. We're talking about not one, but 4 human beings that are being unalived. Can you imagine? The blood in the scene. Can you imagine the smell? All kind of liquid is flowing. Sugar water. And we are talking about 8 to 9 hours. As a licensed mental health therapist, I know for a fact that people go into fight, flight, and freeze mode. But for 8 to 9 hours? Never heard of that before personally. And it's a known fact that a human being would always react when they see an active crime scene. They would go into defense or they would hide. But then once the scene is done with, wouldn't they call 911? The way I personally look at it is DM and BF must have really felt safe and have known the suspects, allegedly. Because no suspect, no killer is going to pass you after he's unalived 4 people and think, oh, today's your lucky day. I'm too tired to commit a 5th one. Why would they leave a witness standing? That doesn't make sense. So going back to Scott Green's son, Nick Green, who's the president of Alpha Kappa, Lambda, the Banfield boys, and Saeed, says clearly that he was friends with Ethan and Zano. And those are his frat brothers that were at the Banfield. So did they go to deal with some kind of beef with Ethan and Zana, especially Ethan? Did things turn nasty? Did things turn bad? Because the Banfield boys are clearly looking at some things in the bushes, and there's some weapons in the bushes, in my opinion. Nick admitted that he knows Zana and Ethan. So that is a red flag for me. That shows that Alpha, Kappa, Lambda boys, the Banfield boys and Saeed, knew Ethan and Zana. I always said Saeed, I've seen Saeed in pictures with Zana, so I knew he was a friend of hers. So Nick clearly knows Zana and Ethan.
Good friends with Ethan Chapin, and he told me what it's been like to face this tragic loss. Watch.
I knew Ethan and Zana.
What do you remember about them?
They were really good people. I always loved seeing them whenever they were around campus. Ethan was a good friend of mine, so it's pretty sad. But I came back because I still want to keep pursuing my dreams, but you know, it's definitely a lot hard for people to come back, especially after that.
Yeah. Do you think it's brought the community, this university, closer together, or has it fractured the campus?
I mean, I would definitely say it fractured it, as, you know, not a lot of people are here.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's brought us together, especially just the Moscow community and Idaho in general.
How do you feel about them not catching the person that did this? Is that completely shocking to you right now? Or?
I mean, given the little amount of evidence that they have and have found, it's not too surprising that they haven't found the suspect, but it's still just disheartening.
I hope you heard what the young man said. Nick Green, that's Scott Green, his son. He's the president of Alpha Kappa Lambda, the Banfield boys and Saeed. He said, given the little amount of evidence they found, it's not surprising they haven't caught anyone. How would he know that information? Has Daddy been telling him? Or has his frat brothers, who could have done it possibly, and Saeed told him that? Just a question. He knows Ethan and Zana, and his frat brothers were Banfield. Where did they come from? The Banfield boys and the Sigma Chi fraternity and the Jacks have always been in my interests. It's not that trying to be biased, so it's not that I'm trying to make suspects every time. It's just that I'm not leaving any stone unturned. Have you ever seen that movie with Kevin Spacey, The Usual Suspects? I can't help it. These are the usual suspects. The Sigma Chi boys wrote their own manifesto about how they were going to do this horrific tragics. Isn't that strange? I'm sure President Scott Green knows that his son Nick Green, who's the president of Alpha Kappa Lambda, got himself into some trouble because it's his frat brothers, the freshmen, Taylor, Peter, and Ethan, who had the Banfield, and Saeed. He has 4 of his frats at the Banfield, and he'll have to do some proper answering. But then, guess what? His dad, his father, his pops is in charge of the university. I always say, Look deeper into the university if there's a cover-up. It wasn't the police I had the most focus on. I don't have it actually any focus on them. There are rich kids, rich businessmen that are, in my opinion, being protected, let's say, in some kind of way. Why didn't the university call the FBI on the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th? Why did they call them on the 17th? They called them on the 5th day. Is it because the college was running the show, the university? In my opinion, just a question. No father is going to leave his son unprotected. By the way, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out in the world. Talking about Father's Day, Scott Green has to protect his son. It's Father's Day for him every day. And his son has to protect the 4 frat members of him at BANDFIELD. They were there at a very odd timing. Look at how stressed they are. It's because they came from 1122 King Road. They came from backdooring Ethan and Zana, in my opinion. I've always said that. That's where I was always getting my timelines from. I was looking at the situation, analyzing, following what's going on, and continuing gathering my research till something else comes under my observation. And now that I'm putting the puzzles together, there's still puzzles missing. It's starting to make a clearer picture. So there were 2 frats involved. Alpha, Kappa, Lambda, these 3 boys. The third one with the pink hoodie, Peter Reagan, and Saeed Sheikh. All 4 of them are from Alpha, Kappa, Lambda. I believe they came from fighting with Ethan. Now look at the one on the left-hand side. Look at his shirt, his pocket. Is there something black in it? Is that... I don't think that's how his shirt is made, because I can show you other times he doesn't have that black up in his pocket. Could that be an electrician glove? I always see this guy, it's a tricky one, with a glove, and then sometimes it looks like a shadow. But he has something in his pocket, I believe. That's not the way his shirt is made. Nobody's selling them to put their hands down, to take off their glasses. Their clothes look so small, and one looks too baggy. This one looks like he's wearing on a female shirt. There's so many things that are wrong in this picture. This is the third one with the hoodie, Peter Reagan, the president of Idaho, Moscow's son, who's the president of Alpha Kappa Lambda. Where was your boys, Nick, your frat brothers? Where did they come from? Where were they heading to? Why was Saeed paying the first Venmo on November 13, 2022 at 2:13? This frat was definitely involved, and so was Sigma Chi Fraternity. In my opinion only. There's Ethan Knight, who unalived his father and the father's dog under self-defense. He was on bail when this was all happening. He He unalived his father in January 26, 2022. The case was pending while 13th of November came and went. He unalived the father and the father's dog. He pow-powed him 4 times. There's something strange in this case. The prosecutor doesn't believe it's self-defense, and the mother bailed him out for $25,000. So today I would love to talk about the Banfield boys once again. Now that I'm starting to find more information with research and it's making sense, that the president of the university, Scott Green, his son Nick Green, is the president of AKA Frat. So Nick Green is the son of Scott Green. He's the president of Alpha Kappa Lambda Fraternity. The vice president of Alpha Kappa Lambda is the guy who unalived his father under self-defense, Ethan Knight. The Treasury Affairs, the one who's in charge of, is Taylor, is the guy with his hands crossed, and that Peter Reagan, the mixed race boy, has some kind of title to in this fraternity. So could the cover-up be coming from there, since his father is running the university and the Banfield boys always had questions about them? The timeline was just such a coincidence that they were at the area at that time. As a licensed mental health counselor, when I keep on observing how anxious, how panicked, how irrationally they were acting, I had to look deeper into them. And they make sense that they could have attacked Zana and Ethan, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong. The rummaging upstairs was the Sigma Chi boys later on. It was the 4 figures running. And Ethan was found on the doorway of Zana, his room. So why is BF and DM pretending that they did not see Ethan? Kind of strange. All these people are lying like no tomorrow. So basically they're protecting the Banfield boys, the surviving roommates. They made DM to be the roommate, and let's see how that goes in court. It doesn't look good for DM. If Ann Taylor gets a go at her, DM is going to break up. But what happens if this case is dismissed? Like Brian Koberger said, he'd be exonerated. If that happens, what happens to the real suspects? They're out in the society with their children on the daily life, and they could do it again. It's all about the right time for them, and the right place, and the right victims, and this tragedy can happen again. I hope it doesn't, but they need to get the real suspects. The real suspects. BK could be involved, and they have him. Where are the rest of the suspects? They're more busy on the people in the vehicles. I'm more busy with the people on foot in Taylor Avenue and the alleyway, and at Banfield behind the bushes. There's a lot going on there. I really believe that these victims could have been gagged. They dragged Maddie. Maddie must have ran like the tripod said they saw a woman, female, yelling hysterically and running from the sliding door at 210. Maybe that was Maddie. And they pulled off her coat and dragged her back home. Trigger warning, anything is possible in this case. Nothing makes sense of DM's story. She could have easily ran outside the house. Why did she run to BF's room? Did she feel safe there with the suspects? They heard rummaging upstairs and they thought it was the Sigma Chi boys, and they knew they wouldn't touch them. That's why I believe they stayed. They must have waited for 911 to be called because BF had things in the house. She had rugs. Her Venmo showed that. I really believe there were at least 3-4 different kind of organization groups, but they were all frats and surviving roommates. Quinn Kelly was there. That is BF's boyfriend. And his father's a gangster, so no fact. He's ex-con. So there are not many people that are not good in this case. I hate to say that. Please like, share, and subscribe.